We all know Chicago is home to many dangerous gangs, but no gang set is as feared as the Black Disciples set of O-Block. From rap videos to news channels, we've heard of O-Block one way or another, but these sources don't tell us just how dangerous the men on O-Block are. But while some may have heard of O-Block, many can't help but question, how did this dangerous block come about?
Don't go in no complexes, projects like, we from Parkway Gardens. The gate only open one way and you gotta wait on it to open. Why would you go in there and nobody see all type of people standing?
On every street map, the name Parkway Gardens, 6400 block of South King Drive, pops up when you look for the street O-Block. But today, the street has come to be known by many names, all of which represent fallen gang members who were lost to the dark and violent gang wars that happened on the streets of Chirac. Choroid Squad, Muna Gang, Ghetto World, Toontown, Wick City, and finally, its most popular name, O-Block. These are some of the names that the most dangerous street in Chicago has come to be known today. Its most popular name, O-Block, just like all others, was gotten from a fallen disciple, Odie Perry. The assassination of 20-year-old Odie Perry brought about the untimely demise of many young teens in Chicago as the dangerous gang members of the Black Disciples sought retaliation against the people responsible for Odie Perry's passing, the Gangster Disciples on 63rd. The news channels tell you about the government names of these young kids that were taken out on the streets of Chicago and make their elimination look like just another gun incident. But the real truth of these eliminations lies in the decade-long war that engulfed the streets of Chicago when these young men were still kids. Everyone was in a gang or the other, whether they were kids or fully grown men. They went about selling drugs and carrying out petty robberies. But these kids stopped swapping drugs for cash and started pulling triggers at each other. It didn't take a while until the wrong kid lost his life. On January 12, 2011, 15-year-old Chandel Gregory, aka Tuka, was waiting outside a bus stop when some grown-up men pulled up with a vehicle beside him. Standing tall and defending himself from the men who seemed to bully him, Tuka continued to exchange words with them until one of the men pulled out a gun and fired point-blank range at Tuka. The men escaped in their getaway vehicle, but unknown to them, the moment Tuka's body hit the ground, many bodies were going to follow.
While I'm smoking on Chandel, O-Block, bitch, do I see you, bro? O-Block, right up for your block, bitch, go, man down, bitch, you are.
So began the Chicago gang wars that have rocked the city of Chicago and infiltrated the rap industry today. More deaths followed as the gang members continued to retaliate against one another, but their ops on 63rd gave a tougher blow after 15-year-old Jakira Barnes, aka K.I., who has come to be known as the deadliest female assassin, took out Odie Perry on August 11, 2012. The date was quite significant as it was the very day of Tuka's posthumous birthday. Odie was loved in O-Block, and to honor his name, they decided to name the block after him. The gang violence continued year after year. Mothers mourned as kids were put below the ground, but it never stopped. With each passing days of their lives, those who survived the war bragged on Twitter about taking the lives of one another until, of course, it was their turn to meet the bullet. All of these social media interactions brought federal attention to the kids of Chicago, but it wasn't until they decided to become rappers that their stories became known around the world. We are sure to give you quality stories straight from our inside sources on the streets of major rap cities. Just make sure to subscribe and stay tuned to Rap Hive to get first-hand information. O-Block's rise to fame was sudden and unexpected. News channels reported about the kids of Chicago without giving them a chance to tell their story, so they decided to find a way themselves. Many rappers have come out from O-Block: Chief Keef, Frito Santana, Lil Durk, and the deadliest and most feared gangster on the block, King Von.
Yeah. King Baller. Shout out King Von, man.
The late O-Block gangster played a major role in putting O-Block's name on the map before he passed away. No one thought Chief Keef had what it took to be a gangster, and fans never understood the name calling and subtle disses on his track. But when King Von entered the rap industry, everything began to make sense. After serving 3.5 years in prison for attempted murder charges, King Von came back to become not just the deadliest hitman on O Block, but the hottest rapper from the block. With the help of his childhood best friend, Lil Durk, King Von made a stance in the rap industry with his natural storytelling abilities. Piece by piece, fans began to fix the puzzle until it told a story. And was it odd that King Von named his viral music series Crazy Story? Indeed, it was a crazy story. One with kids taking out each other on dark street corners, just to show who was more dominant. King Von gave vivid details of the battles that were fought on the streets of O Block through his music. His viral singles like Took Her to the O narrates how he took out people who tried to oppress him on the streets.
We at the top, yeah, we lost a lot, but that's just how it go. But check the score. If y'all lose one more, that's 6-24. Let me focus, can't be zoning out. He pulling up now. Talk to the listeners, this ain't the story. Like I stopped telling the story. Wham. Now I'm focused and I see what's going on. Ooh.
It didn't take a while before King Von rose to fame, and with his rise to fame, King Von brought along with him the history of O Block as he told the stories of the fallen gangsters and the wars with their ops. He spoke more about O Block in his debut album, Welcome to the O. Sadly, King Von couldn't give the world more stories about the infamous O Block as he was gunned down on the streets of Atlanta just 2 weeks after the release of the album. King Von became a fallen soldier. Heartbroken over his demise, the gangsters of O Block made a mural in honor, but unknown to them, the tragic passing of King Von was only the beginning of the downfall of the infamous O Block. O Block prided itself as home to some of the deadliest gangsters Chicago has ever known. So when these gangsters began to fall, the block grew closer to its end. When gangsters like Sheroid, J Money, OTF Newski, and D-Thang lost their lives in the war, the Black Disciples knew that they were losing. But it wasn't until the three deadliest gangsters of the O passed away that the block truly met its downfall. T-Roy, V-Roy, and A-Roy were always together. Some called them the Three Musketeers, who never missed a target. They were the jewels of the war, as they had many bodies to their names. They took out so many of their ops that they turned it into a competition between themselves to see who took the most lives. But all of these came to an end when the Three Musketeers were taken out. The 5'1" assassin. He may have been small, but he sure was mighty. Just like his best friend V-Roy, T-Roy was feared by many.
Yeah. Yeah. Look.
Fuck Shadell. Fuck Zico. Fuck both of the Shadells.
In fact, some say he was a greater hitman than King Von, and even King Von attested to it when he was alive. King Von revealed in an Instagram live video that it was T-Roy who always told him not to get caught lacking and to always have a gun on him.
I don't know T-Roy like I know T-Roy, you know what I'm saying? So when I hear he gets shot on, he don't want to talk me like don't be lacking, don't be, you know? He was on me, he used to be on each other, you know what I'm saying? Cause me and him, we back to back with my boy, you know what I'm saying?
King Von wasn't the only rapper to speak on T-Roy's skill as a gangster. Rapper Chief Keef can subtly talk about T-Roy's skills on some of his tracks.
OD with that too.
On his track, No Reason, Chief Keef raps, T-Roy got my strap. He gon' blast for no reason. While on the track, Self, he says, T-Roy got a gun that's bigger than him, and he gon' blow that bit all by himself. He don't miss, he gon' leave the right one left. Every gangster on O Block who spoke about T-Roy always maintained one story. He was the best with a gun, and he was never caught lacking. So when he eventually got caught lacking, the gangsters on O Block knew that their days were numbered, and their downfall was around the corner. On February 14th, 2017, 23-year-old James Johnson, aka T-Roy, walked into a store and never walked out. It was believed that T-Roy had planned to catch his ops, TB, from Taekwondo World, lacking on that fateful day. But with his top guys being in prison, T-Roy decided to go and do the hit alone. Unfortunately for him, he was outnumbered, as TB and his crew caught T-Roy lacking instead. They walked into the store where T-Roy had gone and opened fire at him. Unfortunately for T-Roy, he did not survive his injuries, but his homies were able to catch the people who took him out. Long before he became a rapper, King Von was known in the streets as V-Roy, the deadly assassin. He was the craziest hitman on the block and the only Black Disciple that took after David Darksdale, the real founder of the Black Disciples gang.
There was a rumor that he's related to David Barksdale, who was the founder of the Black Disciples.
Mm-hmm.
Is that true or not?
No.
But you know what I'm talking about,
I know
though,
what you're
right?
talking about.
Right.
For this reason, King Von was nicknamed Grandson.
grandson.
What does that mean? Why that nickname?
It's just an alter ego. It's just like how Melly got Melvin. You know, it's just Von is the laid back, chill, you know what I'm saying, vibing, joking around.
King Von had a lot of bodies under his belt as he took out many of his ops and random people who weren't involved in the gang wars. While he prided himself as a deadly gangster, King Von never believed in the saying, "He who lives by the sword, dies by the sword," until he met his end. On the fateful night of November 6, 2020, old black rapper King Von found himself on the wrong side of a gun, and unfortunately, he passed from the injuries he sustained. The tragic passing of King Von caused a great shift both in the Chicago gang scene and in the rap industry. For O Block, they had lost one of their best gangsters, and they sought retaliation. This brought the gang war into the rap industry. A rift between the O Block OTF crew and the 4K Trey crew was born on the night that King Von was taken out. On the night of King Von's untimely passing, he went out partying at the Monaco Hookah Lounge in Atlanta when a fight broke out between his group and Quando Rondo's crew. In no time, not only were punches thrown, but bullets were also fired. Unfortunately, King Von was caught in the crossfire where he sustained some gun wounds. Although he was rushed to the hospital, they couldn't save his life. With the elimination of King Von, who was left to tell the stories of these young men when they were teenagers? The last man standing. A-Roy was not a rapper, but when it came to carrying out fights and gang activities, A-Roy was unmatched. Avion Givens, who was known on the streets as A-Roy, lost his life on the very sidewalks of O Block at about 1:50 p.m. on December 13th, 2021. A year after the passing of King Von, 26-year-old A-Roy was captured on camera beating up two teenagers, Monamond and Lil Mike, after the teenagers allegedly tried to swindle A-Roy. In the video, which was being streamed on Facebook Live, A-Roy was heard saying, "I'm a grown man," while throwing punches at one of the teenagers. After a while of making a fuss at the teenager, A-Roy decided to take a step back and let him be. Before he could walk away, the young boy pulled out a weapon and fired at A-Roy. There was no way A-Roy was going to survive such close-range bullets fired into him.
They families, I got real good relationship with A-Roy and the guy who, who took his life. And I just, while seeing that, man, I just see like how far away we came from being that block that we was about love. Obviously,
It all happened so quickly, with every second being captured on camera. The last man standing of the three musketeers fell, and so did the glorious O Block. Since its rise to fame, O Block has become somewhat of a tourist center, with the fascinating stories being told and the description of its deadly nature. Fans are left curious about the mystery that lies within the walls of Chicago's O Block. But all ye be warned, it's not the deadliest block without reason. In fact, it is believed that one of the reasons for the downfall of this infamous block can be traced to its deadly nature. What happens when people can't come around because of fear for their lives? It loses its story. And this is the exact case of O Block's downfall. We've all heard the stories, and everyone wants a feel of it, even rappers. But we've all been told that if you have no business in O Block, then you need to stay out of it. O Block rapper Lil Durk reiterated this when he warned rapper Meek Mill against visiting the deadly block. Lil Durk revealed in an interview that Meek Mill had asked if he could accompany him to Chicago, but according to Lil Durk, he told Meek Mill to go at his own risk. With the dangerous gangster lurking on every street corner, it wasn't surprising that Lil Durk discouraged Meek Mill from going to O Block.
Until you see to be like, you good, bro.
Man, Meek told me that. Meek told me that a long time ago. He's like, man, I want to come to your hood. I'm like, you at your own risk, bro. I'm not for sure to tell you like, you good, bro.
Right. Yeah. Nah, go
I'm not
up.
even good. Yeah,
This shit can go up. It is over. Nah.
Like, I had to tell him like, that just made me extra hard.
While Meek Mill took heed to Lil Durk's advice, some rappers refused to believe the stories that came out of O Block, and one of them decided to go and check it out for himself. New York rapper 6ix9ine. 6ix9ine going to O Block wasn't just because he wanted to see what the block was really made of, but also as a means to spite the O Block rappers he had beef with. Without fear in him, 6ix9ine made his way to O Block in 2019. It was about 10 p.m. on the fateful night that 6ix9ine visited O Block.
Y'all wanted me in Chicago? O Block right here. I call it no block. It's 10 o'clock. Where the f*** niggas at? Niggas ain't outside. It's only 10 p.m. Where the f*** niggas at, blood?
Walking on the streets of O-Block and screaming out for the gangsters to come out. 6ix9ine showed no fear as he continued to prove that O-Block wasn't as dangerous as the rap music posed it to be. But that wasn't the only time he visited O-Block. Making another video of himself in O-Block, 6ix9ine tried a more disrespectful approach as he went to the very place where Lil Durk's cousin, OTF Newski, was taken out on the streets of O-Block in 2014. Not only did he disrespect Lil Durk by going there, but he made a mockery of him as he brought flowers along with him. 6ix9ine's video went viral as some O-Block goons came across it. They made their way for the site, but on getting there, 6ix9ine was nowhere to be found. Could that day have been his lucky day? Or have the O-Block gangsters truly lost their glory? Many expected that in true O-Block religion, these gangsters would have sought 6ix9ine out, but none of that happened. With very few thrilling and intriguing stories coming out of O-Block, the block seems to have reached the end of the road in the journey of legends. But will O-Block rise again? Many things can be blamed for the downfall of the infamous O-Block. But the real reason why O-Block met its end wasn't just because top gangsters who started the war lost their lives, but because the government decided to take over. The gang activities in O-Block became increased after King Von put the block on the map. Everyone wanted to make the news and have their names mentioned in rap music. Some even wanted to become rappers. Who would have thought that these gangsters would be thirsty for fame? Their thirst for fame only led to more deaths and more gang violence. To bring change to the O-Block community, it got sold. The Parkway Gardens, which we all call O-Block today, was put up for sale in May 2021. With all of the gangsters combined, there was no way they would have afforded to buy out their block. So they sought help from one of their very own, Lil Durk. Not only was the purchase going to fetch a lot of money in the future, but he would have been able to preserve the gang lifestyle in O-Block. So Lil Durk decided to bid for it. But do you think rappers are just as rich as the business tycoons who stay on their phones all day? In a bid to protect the gangsters who did his bidding, Lil Durk offered to buy Parkway Gardens, aka O-Block. I'll buy it, don't matter how much it is, said Lil Durk in a tweet. But the truth is, even if he offered $1 billion, he would have never been allowed to buy O-Block. It's been almost 2 years since O-Block was bought off the lot, and the buyer remains unknown. Could the buyer be another mysterious gangster looking for young men to do his bidding? According to news reports. With the purchase of O-Block, the owner was looking to disband and relocate Parkway Gardens. But to this day, no reconstruction has begun on the block, and every waking day seems to be just like the last. Could it be that it was all a facade to take gangsters away from O-Block? Nobody can say for now, but what the inside sources on the streets of O-Block say is that for the first time in over a decade, the block has experienced some form of peace, since many of the gangsters passed away and some moved out. But would the gangsters who survived continue the war, or would this be the end of the story of the legendary O-Block?